What's up, planet Earth? My name is Adrian, and this is Books by Adrian. And today we're talking about how I do my research for writing my book. Now, if this is your first time on my channel, welcome to Books by Adrian. Make sure that you subscribe by hitting the button under the video. Make sure you hit the notification bell. I believe it's right around here. It'll let you know whenever my video goes up. And I do post videos every Wednesday, but sometimes it's early Wednesday morning because I was able to record on Tuesday, and sometimes it's late Wednesday night because I did everything on the day. So it just depends. The notification bell will definitely help to let you know when the video goes up so that you can hop right on it. Now, this YouTube channel is kind of the flagship of my author platform, but these days I'm actually really proud of the website itself and the Instagram account in particular. So if you go to booksbyadrian.com, across the top right hand corner, my stage right or my right, across the top right hand corner, you are going to find all of the social media links right there. You can simply click on the Instagram image and you're there. There's also a blog, and on that blog every month will be a post that is just about the goals for that month and the content schedule to be published throughout that month. So I started this in April, on April 1st, and since April 1st I have not missed a day. I post new content every single day. So if you go to the blog and scroll down to the April posts, there's going to be one that says April goals and content schedule. And if you scroll up a little further, there's May goals and content schedule, and there's going to be one up for June. So if you want to see what's coming up, go there and get a good idea. And if you want to see what you've missed, you can also go there. Every single day that I post a new piece of content, I link it on that original post. So you can always go back to that post and just click on all the new stuff as you go down. And it's pretty cool. The Instagram in particular has been a lot of fun. In keeping with this sort of drawn theme across my author platform, it began on the website with the design with the image of the typewriter in sort of a cartoonified art style, right? I made sure that bled across all the pieces of the author platform. So Instagram in particular has been fun because any image I post up there, I turn into a drawing first. And now I found this new app that helps you like sort of do little animations to your photos, just kind of bring them to life, make them look a little more 3D and stuff like that, which is kind of funny because it's turning an image into a 2D like cartoon version and then turning that into a three-dimensional space. So it creates this very kind of psychedelic look, which is good for my book. Anyone who has read some of the chapters in my books, my beta readers, my critique partners, they'll attest to the fact that drug culture and psychedelic drugs in particular play a very huge role in the book itself and how the characters go about their journeys. So it's kind of fitting that this weird combination of apps that I've been playing with is creating this sort of like psychedelic image. I'm actually like having a lot of fun with it, and I have some plans for something pretty cool to do with it, but I will not be posting that really cool thing until we reach 100 subscribers here on YouTube. So if you're at all teased and want to know what's up, I'm working on it right now. It's definitely coming, but it's up to you guys to share the channel, share the videos, tell your friends to come and subscribe, and once we get to that 100 subscribers, it's game on, guys. All right. So research. This came up on the schedule, and I was just beating myself over the head about what to actually talk about in this video. How do you show, doing research, in any kind of an interesting way? Because it's literally me sitting at a table and reading a book. That's how I do research. It's not really that amazing. It's how most people do research. They either hop online or they grab a book. So I thought the best way to get something out of this is to talk about the sort of roadblocks that I've hit along the way in my writing journey here, and how research is what I always had to turn to get out of that, all right? So for example, starting right off the bat, when I first started writing anything, really, not even just this work in progress, but anything, I quickly learned that even though I wrote really great essays in school, and you know, often the night before they were due and just aced it, writing fiction just wasn't the same thing. You know, the structure of the paragraphs weren't really the same thing. None of it was. It was shifting from this very official, documentarian-like way of writing a piece into fiction, a narrative. You know, this flow, ebb and flow of peaks and valleys, and all this stuff that you have to do with character and character development and plot, and it was a completely different world. And so right off the bat, I had to, you know, research how to actually write. At the time, I was focusing on writing scripts for a graphic novel, which I have yet to complete. And I turned to the writers of the great graphic novels that I've written, and every single one of them always spoke about writing comic books and graphic novels the same way, which is there's no one way to do it. You can do it however you want. You know, some writers will write out the script, you know, basically in prose, telling, you know, the artist everything that's happening on every single page, and then, you know, you figure it out, stupid. Other guys, you know, other writers see the page layout already in their heads in the panels, and they're actually filling in panels as they go. So they'll script in panel 1, you know, panel 2, and then others still will just write out, you know, the dialogue and let the artist make everything up. And there's just so many different ways in which to write a comic book script that I felt like it wasn't a good way for a beginner to learn, you know. Especially for me, I tend to need somebody to show me the right way to do it. So when I started writing fiction, I had to get a couple of books on the subject, you know, how to write. I picked up books on writing prose, but I actually also picked up books on writing screenplays. And even though I wasn't, and still am not, writing movie scripts, I find the structure of a movie very, very familiar, very, you know, secure. You know, I feel safe within the structure of a movie. You know, a clear beginning, middle, and end. You know, a lot of movies in 3 acts. But those 3 acts, as far as the screenplay is concerned, is actually more like 5 to 7 acts. There's little turning points inside each of these acts that make up the bulk of the screenplay and of the story and the plot. So, so I found that to be my preferred sort of structure for a story, and it's how I've been approaching everything I've been doing, whether it's, you know, a graphic novel, which is yet to be completed, or this novel here. Early on in writing the graphic novel, which some of the research that I did for that has sort of rolled over into this work in progress. Both projects at some point have a serial killer involved in it. The graphic novel, it would not be until much later in the run, but for this work in progress here, the villain of the story is a serial killer of sorts, and so I very much had to do research on serial killers. I remember actually a couple of years ago walking into a Barnes and Noble and grabbing like 5 books on serial killers off of the shelf. This was one of them, Serial Killers, The Methods and Madness of Monsters. And another one that I picked up, which I don't have here right now, but I liked even more than this one, was it was called My Time Amongst the Serial Killers. And it was written by a clinical psychiatrist who sort of specialized or just kind of had this nearly lifelong project where she consistently had patients that were known convicted serial killers, you know, including some of the big ones. And you know, she would go in and interview them and just speak to them for hours, and she just wrote this book about what it's like inside their heads. And I remember going up to the counter at this Barnes and Noble with 5 books on serial killers, like it was normal. And the lady behind the counter is like, she beeps the first one, beep, and the second one, okay, and the third one, it's like, and by the fourth one, she's like, and by the time she might as well have been reaching for the phone, like calling the cops, like, I think you need to come down here. But and I'm just going, I assure you, it's just research. I'm writing a book. One of my favorite things, just weirding out some person behind the counter of a bookstore because you're buying some really weird stuff all at the same time. And it's, it's research. You got to do research for writing your book. So, I would find myself throughout the course of writing that graphic novel and now writing this work in progress here, this novel, that every now and then I would make a bunch of progress, and then I would stop and be like, wait a minute, I don't know what to do next. How do I do this? And then you go and you research it, and you find out that there's an entire lifetime worth of research and learning and practice that you have to do on this one thing before you can go back and put it right back into the book again. It's kind of crazy and kind of intimidating and stressful in a way, but it's also kind of awesome and fun because I mean, at the end of the day, you're learning new stuff and becoming smarter, and what's better than being smarter? For this book in particular, I had to research a lot about the sci-fi and fantasy genres in particular. I also did a lot of research on crime noir film and literature. And that's always interesting too, because sometimes research for me is sitting down and watching a movie. One of my favorite movies, Zodiac by David Fincher. Also The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo by David Fincher. Also Seven by David Fincher. This dude likes serial killers. These 3 movies in particular, I watched specifically as research for writing a serial killer. I should say rewatch. I love those movies. I've seen them a million times. And then researching the genre of sci-fi, sitting down and watching some really cool sci-fi shows and movies. The sequel run of Battlestar Galactica. I say sequel because the original from the 70s was still the history in this new one. It wasn't a reboot, it was a sequel. And that was big research for me too. They had a similar premise in their show to what I sort of have in the history of my show, which is in that show, the premise is that when the robotic Cylons return and sneak attack some war tactics on humanity, the last remaining humans alive all hop into starships and go into space and flee for their lives and have no idea where to go or what to do, and then ultimately they decide to search for the 13th colony, Earth. But in my book, humanity has been through a similar journey. Had nothing to do with Cylons or robots, but they had to flee their home in a fleet of starships and wander the galaxy aimlessly in search of a new home. So I rewatched a lot of Battlestar Galactica because it brings up a lot of the politics and things like that would go on. Now, once my story begins, they've already been through that 300 years back. They have found a new home, they have built a new home, and humanity, the last of humanity, is living on this one world that they share together. And all the history and the battles and the wars and the rebellions and the whatevers that happened throughout their time traveling through space have now built a very specific and very interesting little society here. So all of that to say that sometimes research is reading a book, sometimes research is Googling something, and sometimes it's watching some of your favorite stuff that has inspired you in the past and seeing what has been done, thinking of ways to do it differently, to take a trope and elevate it, to take a cliche and flip it on its head and make it something new and fresh and exciting. These are goals that I have for my novel. You know, certain cliches and tropes that might be found in other literary and pieces of entertainment work. And, you know, over time, these things have become very commonplace, have become, you know, either highly praised or bad-mouthed. but the challenge and the excitement of taking those things and doing something new with them, doing something different, doing something entirely my own with it, that's what's really, really exciting to me about it. So all that to say that today's video is quite simple. You know how to research stuff. You know how to research stuff. You don't know something, you look it up. But I guess one thing to really take away from all this is never research with just one thing. Never grab just one book. Never watch just one movie. Like I said, I picked up 5 books on the day, you know, because I want as broad a spectrum as I can get on the topic, so that I can then, you know, zero in on the things that jump out to me, that stand out to me, that matter to me. So do your research. Always do your research. Never wing it like I did today's video. Always plan ahead. Always research. Thank you so very much for watching my video this week. I know that it was a short one. I know that it's kind of a goofy one, but it was on the schedule. And I actually considered swapping it out with other content throughout the month, but I kind of like where everything is. The next YouTube video in particular, if I'm not mistaken, is one where I'll be talking about a short story contest that I'm entering and my piece that I am entering into the contest. I'm still writing it right now, but I really like it. I like where it's going, and with it not being done already yet, I really wanted to save that YouTube video for when it was done and I could talk more freely about it. Thanks for stopping by. Subscribe, hit the notification bell, leave a comment down below with your research methods, or maybe a time that you were writing and got stuck on something and how just a little research set you free. Head over to booksbyadrian.com, bookmark the website, go to the blog, check out the content schedules, go to the social media. Instagram is hopping right now. This is so much fun. Thank you guys. I will see you again next week on Wednesday.